hands together for Billy Monama.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. It was not an easy one to put together this gathering. It was not an easy one. There was a day whereby I asked myself, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? You know. But there is a revolutionary bug inside of me. And just a little background. I started playing guitar in 1997, and I was always interested in history and politics. So that contestation is inside of me. I do have that contestation with Jesus. I was part of the SRC. I was part of the SRC at school. I failed my standard 9 3 times. They expelled me on the 4th time because I was against the Africans being taught in school. After the 1976 youth, they fought. I was Mefropachadi, Hukom, are we learning this language today? What was the purpose of the youth of 1976 doing this? So I continued with my colleagues. I failed because I was so rebellious. And finally, when I passed my matric after, a couple of attempts, not because I was dumb, it's because of contestation and being, having the revolutionary bug. But now that it never stopped then, I went to study politics. I went to study political science. When I was studying political science, already I was playing music. I saw some students carrying their guitars in the campus. I was like, hey, where are you going? They say, we're going to the music school. And then I went to the music school, into the music class. And then I went back home. I told my parents that I want to study music. And my parents, they said, no way you're going to do that. And then I said, I'm going to do it. And then I contested again. Contestation. I said to them that it's either you let me to do what I want or else I'm not going to do politics anymore. And when I arrived into the music class, fast forward because we don't have time. When I arrived into the music class, I found the curriculum is Western. Then the contestation came again. I'm like, what are we doing this thing? First day I failed. I failed not because I was dumb, because I was rebellious. I was like, why are we learning about Coltrane and Miles Davis when we have Hugh Masekela and Miriam Makeba and all these greatest musicians? Who is speaking about these musicians if in the history class you're going to present an essay of 2 pages, but when it comes to Hugh Masekela you have a paragraph? And then what brought this revolution to action? It is when the history teacher said to me, Billy, go and research about Maskanda guitar. That was an assignment. That assignment changed everything. And something had to give, and that was me. I gave myself. I said, I will drop out school to go and do a research. I did 15 years of research for me to come out with this book. So now when they speak about, when the panelists, they speak about waiting 9 years to implement a document. I've done 15 years of research, so I'm ready to wait for another 15 years to make sure that we have solutions and partnership with the Department of Education. I did not call them here so that we started a revolution. I called them to be here so that we can share the ideas and solutions that they're going to advance music. When I say black schools, it was never intended to be a racial, a comment, but it was that because I've been doing master classes and workshops for the past years, and every time I go to St. John's, it's different than when I go to Supatsila in Soweto. I almost cry. The kids there, they don't even have instruments. For the first time, they see the guitar. So for me, The black, what I saw in Soweto and the one I saw in Parktown is different. So for me, that is why I relate it in that manner, not because it is racial, but now I do take the point of the innocent. And I remember when I got to this school in the suburbs, we were doing a song of Johnny Clegg. They invited me to come and do a workshop, and then they had their subject, African Sky Blue of Johnny Clegg. When I arrived there, the teacher was playing wrong chords. The teacher didn't know the song, was playing wrong things and teaching the students wrong things. And then when I arrived there, he says, I must play the wrong things that he's playing. And I said, no, you don't know this song. You can't tell me about this music. I had done the research. I had to even prove and tell him that I'm going to call the musical director of the late Johnny Clegg to come and intervene in this. We're fighting for a court. You know what he says to me? He said to me he found this from Google. What does Google knows about African music? Google, nothing. There was nothing when I started doing the research. When I started doing the research, there was nothing. There was no book. I went to all the entire libraries in Joburg. The internet had nothing. But today, if you put Google, you say South African guitar, my name is attached with it. So we're going somewhere. You can clap the hands. There was nothing. There was nothing. There was nothing. It says, Helga, Ogai, please help me with the password. I want to show something on the AV here. So, there was nothing. Listen, you can laugh again, right? There was nothing. There was really, 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 really nothing. And the most important thing of this, I'm just going to keep everything short. You know, I want to talk too long because I want to give you opportunity to comment as well, is the material. That's what I'm going home with this. Material. So now we have authors. In this room, we have someone who wrote a book about music business, South African music business. The learning and training supporting material. I never knew about this thing when I was writing the book. For me, as an author, my motive, it was to find that information that it was missing. It was missing the biography, the presentation of biographies, and the scores and all that. And I understand that they say that one of the panelists was saying that you find the history in most of the textbook, but you don't find the actual playing. So now, these books now, my idea was that we write this book as a general consumption, so that the public they can understand where this music comes from. Then, when we engage with the curriculum specialist and the Department of Education, they guide us. No, so now you need to follow 1, 2, 3. That's what we need to do. I think, as authors, to have a partnership with, the curriculum advisor, so that they can advise us that how do we get the material in schools. I don't want to talk about my book because I don't want you to think that I hope you look at. There are other musicians. This one is from Jonathan Shaw. He's here inside the audience. Sitting here in the audience. He published this book. And now the problem that I always ask that, you see, there's a music business in the book, and then there's a music business in the street. There's a street and then there's a business. The music business, the formality or in school, the education tells you that you need to have a contract to do a show. The street, you work with fate. You can sign the contract and not pay you. What are you going to do? You don't have the money to contest that contract. You don't have the budget. You don't have the financial muscle. So what is the meaning of contract if there's no money? Give me money. I'll come. That's my contract. I work like that. I don't care about this long, beautiful quote, nice English in the thing. It means nothing. Give me money, I show up. That's my contract. The problem why we find ourselves here is because of policies. Policies. People who create policies, they create them from the consultations. The consultations, it takes time. It's a tedious process to create a policy. That policy, by the time it's being implemented, time has evolved. By the time you implement a policy, we are now talking about QR codes. By the time you implement the policy for CAPS, we're speaking about tutorial videos. How can the students engage here? Because the world is on the digital. So now, the authors, I think, they need to engage with, I believe that they need to engage with the Department of Education, how to do this visually. Internationally, they do it. It's not something that I've done it, out of, taking chance. It's because I was inspired by people like Jamie Episode. They had like tutorial materials whereby you can hear the backtrack playing, accompanying you. You can see the score. You can see all that. That's how we do that. So now, kids, they come, they scan here. The QR code takes them direct to the tutorial videos. So that, like Aus Millicent, she was saying that Billy's talking about Maskanda, but at least we need videos. And also, Brain Innocent says that this is a book, but the guitar book. I had to do it because there is no one who have taken time to do it. But I wanna encourage young authors, as much as young as I am, also to take an action to write for drums, for piano, for all these instruments, so that we can move forward. So I don't want to talk a long thing. I'm sure that you have so much great things to share. For me, it was just to say thank you so much, and I want to thank the city of Johannesburg to be the ones say, Billy, we're behind you. You want to do this thing, and I want to thank the Gauteng Department of Education for taking their time to come through. It was not an easy process, right? But finally, we are here. Thank you so much for your presence. I really appreciate you. And I want to appreciate people who helped me to put this thing together, Helga and also Nunu. People, they still want me to be on stage. So when I'm playing the guitar, I can't be writing proposals. So they are doing that work for me because I just came back from Uganda. So you can imagine if I was here, I could have broken into 4 pieces. So the stage is all yours, the attendees. Thank you so much.
And if anybody has questions or comments, please raise your hand, feel free, and I'll come around right at the back of the venue. We'll start here, sir. If you can stand up, let us know who you are, where you're from, and what your question or comment is, sir.
Good evening. My name is Jesse Mohale. I'm from Mamelodi. I'm a program director for an organization called Committed Artists for Cultural Advancement, CAFCA. And I'm studying the double bass. So thanks a million for all the comments. Billy, bigs up to you.
Thank you.
And you are an inspiration. We'll follow.
Thank you.
And what I want to say is, a lot has been said about what needs to be taught in our schools and music education. But I think the point of departure should be, we need to acknowledge the fact that music education, education has not been unified. We are still battling. And then you are right, Billy, to say black schools. There are still black schools. Only maybe after transformation has taken place, we can talk about something else. But in my view, there are black schools, they are in townships. Majority of the kids there are black kids. Now, I just want to take you back pre-94. There were no music education in our schools. There were programs like MAP, Music Action Power, for People's Power in Cape Town, under the leadership of Duke Ngukana. these people were cultural activists. We had FUBA under the leadership of Sipho Sepamla, who saw a need that there should be, because there was no music education in our schools, because if you think about it, the government of the day, they knew that education was used as a weapon. And so music education was also denied because it would provide a lot of alternatives. That's why there was no music education. And post-94, the situation hasn't changed much. We still don't have music education. That's why we have Kafka. That's why we have a music academy in Benoni. And so what I wanted to concur with Millicent, for instance, she mentioned something that the benefits of music education. Music transforms the society. I strongly believe that when you train a good musician, you train a good citizen. She has alluded to that fact that what happened with the kids. I've got stories to tell about the kids we teach in Mamelodi, how they did well in all the disciplines. Now, in a South African context, we come from a very diverse background. Now, these kids, they come into the program, but once they're in the program, their differences doesn't matter anymore. They come to realize that each one's perspective is as important as the other one. So I think I'll stop there. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Are we tired or are we shy with applause? Because I think that it's also encouraging to get more people to speak. Please, if you could stand, let us know who you are, where you're from, and what your comment is. Go ahead.
Thank you, Poppy. My name is Jonathan Shaw. I'm the author of that big red textbook over there. And Billy, I'm very proud of you. Your story echoes my story, exactly the same in some ways. I'm also a guitarist. I started in '95. So we have a lot of synergies going there. So I just wanted to make a few comments just about what I've seen. I've had a look at, for example, the CAPS curriculum. And I've seen the music industry material, but why? Because it echoes the book. And something disturbing for me was that the curriculum, the notes, did not echo what I knew when I went through them. And so it begs the question of where was the source material that these students are learning? I had the experience where a colleague of mine was teaching this particular subject and asked me, how do I approach this? Because, you know, what I know doesn't match what is in the curriculum. So I'm very glad to know that there's going to be public comment. In 2024, I'll be there, I hope. And where's the mailing list? How do we sign up? How do we know? And it echoes what we were talking about before. Why? Because I generally look out for public comment on music. So when they wanted to increase the local content quotas, I said, now's the time. South Africa should have a higher local content quota. It didn't happen, right? And of course, it echoes everything that we're talking about in society, that education affects what our kids are listening to. What are our kids listening to? Hip-hop, amapiano, all right? I mean, jazz is big, classical is big, but you're talking about careers, and that's the biggest career. I, as a music producer, working in the market, that's what I get asked to make, all right? Maybe not so much amapiano because it's DJ-based. But now, where's your digital audio workstations? I mean, you're going to have to start teaching FL Studio in schools. But there's a lot I could say. I mean, I feel like jumping off the hot seat the whole time because there's a lot I could say. So that's just a few of the starting comments. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you. And I'm so glad we're doing this because so many comments are coming through. Please, if I can ask you to stand so we can all see you. And the same process as the other two gentlemen. Here you go.
Thank you very much. My name is Mboti Muloi. I have to declare that I'm a musician, a researcher, a writer, and everything else. Thank you for the opportunity. I'll start by saying there's a lot that has been said, and there's a lot that one can comment on, but I'll just try and summarize everything that I wanted to say, maybe in few sentences. We haven't really, according to my respectable view, got into the jinx of our problem in music education. Why? One, if we are to develop as a society, not from our perspective, we are just wasting time and money. We know our history as oppressed people, that everything that we have was imposed on us. And that led us to even view what we can offer as something that is nice to have. It doesn't make sense to me that in Africa, African music is not enthroned to be at the center of our education. That's criminal. Now, on the side of materials and everything, why are we failing to even recognize that material is something that we have in abundance? Is that we're viewing the way we do music as Africans from the perspective of those who colonize us. If we're saying there are no books, when we learn music, our research Maskandi, a lot. And you ask Maskandi how they learn, they will tell you that, no, my brother is the one who had a guitar, so I will steal it and play. And when they teach you exactly the same way. Now we will say we want people who are qualified to come and teach. And we insulting ourselves that those who are playing, who are practicing, they're not qualified. That's number one. Number two, if we're talking about indigenous music, we don't need books. Indigenous music is part of life. If we want to teach children how to do indigenous music, let's send them to the community where music is done. That community is the school, they have the knowledge, they have everything. And to at least make things easy for ourselves, all institutions, higher education, government, policymakers, we must start to recognize that knowledge that Africans possess is the knowledge, is equal to any other knowledge, whether it's classical or whatever. How Africans do music, that is qualified according to their standard, as much as everybody else say is qualified. So we will solve many of our problems if we can look at ourselves and how we should do things properly, moving ahead. Well, it's nice to come and get together, talk about this and that, and then we are done, but it really doesn't take us anywhere. We need to start at the core of the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. A lady. Hello, ma'am.
Hi, Ospai. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tsegofatso Matabane, and I'm a social entrepreneur, cultural curator with a music background. And I just wanted to comment on what Avril said about appreciation, because I think the biggest thing is that, okay, I'm going to say schools that are in the townships. I hope that's okay. The problem about that is that they're not exposed to all the different careers that are there in the arts. So even like thinking of doing music, if you tell your parent that you want to be a singer, like that already is like, where are you gonna get the money in that, And in that way, they don't even think of pursuing a career in the arts because of their parents' perceptions about the arts. So we need to start with changing the perceptions of the arts and for people to see the value of it in our communities. And in that way, it makes it more accessible. Because why are there learners that know that one can be a curator? and other people don't know what curation is, you know. The information, that lack of, I don't know, exposure and information is not easily accessible about careers in the arts, and that's a challenge that I think we need to address as well. Thank you.
That's very important. Can I pose that to one of our panelists about career days, career expos? Does that happen in life orientation? Does that happen from the home? Where is that supposed to happen? Because I think that that's such a valuable point that we need to bring up in this conversation.
In fact, there was a career expo that happened, I think, just before COVID.
Right.
Organized with support from the Department of Arts and Culture. A project manager was sort of pitched it, and she had this wonderful expo where she invited many music industry players to be there, Sam Rowe, Del Rowe, you know, all those kind of sort of Machito, etc., the composers, people, and some government sort of departments, and she invited educators, and she had panels all day, and there were some performances throughout the day, but the whole idea was to expose young people. It wasn't only for schools, but she directed it a lot at high school kids and also at university students, to understand the range of work that was possible in the full music ecosystem. And, you know, from training and education all the way through to business support, IP, legal services, but also being a gig manager, a band leader, whatever. So, but that was an individual initiative.
Yes, it's one initiative.
As an initiative,
yes.
and the government used to have something called Music Week, SA Music Week.
Yes.
Do you remember that? And that
That's
was
how I learned
regu-
about the college that I
and
studied
think,
at.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that was a regular event for a couple of years,
Yeah.
and then there was no champion for it, so there wasn't in the next annual performance plan, so it gets lost off the budget.
Millicent?
Yeah.
Yeah, you said something about life orientation. Yes, we do have career days every year. In Gauteng, they happen at every district organizes one, where they invite universities and colleges to talk about, and learners are passed through to those places, and then the stores everywhere. But I must tell you that we never have the music department or the arts, let me say the arts department, coming to these career days, and I don't know why that happens. I don't remember seeing one coming in.
Why does that happen? People are nodding. Why does that happen? Because if we're crying about it, but then we're not attending or leading it, what are we doing?
One of the things that I've come to realize over the years, you know, the music industry is not a job industry. It is a self-employment industry. And that's one of the biggest reasons why there's no career days, because the industry is pretty much running on its own steam. And of course, there's not enough money to make it go to a sort of higher corporate level. And it is exactly that. If a record company had been at Wits, I would have been first in line to chat to them. They never were. They didn't really worry. They didn't get their people from universities. And that's an interesting question in and of itself.
Very interesting. You were nodding. Do you want to add to that? Oh, okay. You don't have to. I'm not forcing you.
Come just to be quiet. I have this problem that everywhere I go, I need to say something, and it becomes a problem, and I get charged for it sometimes. My employer doesn't like me, so I won't say that I have an employer this evening. I'm representing myself. My name is Chesterton. And I don't know anybody in the building. I'm here because I got an invitation to attend this beautiful auspicious occasion. And I want to really, sir, I didn't know you before this evening, and I'm glad that I came. I must be honest, I'm honored to know you from this point forward, because you are doing, the reason why I came, you are doing something that I was expecting somebody else to do. And I have found somebody that is doing that. The person that is doing it is a person that is coming up with material that I can use for teachers in schools. That is why I came. I saw your videos and I was like, I need to meet this man. I need to be here to meet this gentleman. Because this gentleman is doing, no, I'm honest with you, and please forgive me if I'm sounding ignorant, because that's how I became who I am today, is because I'm ignorant and then I learn something and then I'm getting recognition for what I've learned, you see. I applaud you for what you are doing, sir, and I am the person that will push your material in schools. I will. I have the ability to reach more schools than I'm supposed to reach because of who I am, the forward one, you see, the one that is not supposed to speak when I am speaking. There's just one thing that I need to add. In terms of how we brainwash our learners with career day. I want to be the doctor, I want to be the attorney, I need to be the one that's getting I don't want to be the musician, I don't want to be, you're very famous, I've seen you on very different occasions. I don't want to be that person. I want to be the one that is everybody seeing, I am the famous doctor. I'm the one that's wearing the uniform. That is just the thing. Lastly, I attended an interesting webinar yesterday with the Thabo Mbeki School of Governance, with the ambassador for Singapore, the ambassador for the African Union, and the EU representative, and it was about globalization and the direct or indirect influence on Africa. The global economy and the direct and indirect. And there was a lot of discussion about how South Africa was sold out, how Africa was sold out, and I don't want to go in there. I want to bring it to the context here. Good evening, Marius. I want to bring it to the context here. The context for music and music education. And now I'm speaking out of the heart because this is my passion. Oh God. Music and music education. Sir, it is not just a lifestyle, it's not who I am. It is a consciousness. It is the reason why we are who we are as a country. It is not just something that's happening in schools when we have a magnet school because of the influence that we have in the intermediate. It's not there. It's much more than that, because in terms of how we need to move forward from this point is to argue that music and music education is the only subject that can influence the intellectual development of learners from an early age. It's the only subject that can influence all subjects, like we're doing with languages. We need to do for music. I made my presentation rushing because of time, but now I think maybe with mentioning these 4 key points, that is why we are here, the reason why we're here. I don't subscribe to talk shop, and this is not a talk shop to answer in advance questions that are coming up that, Billy, so is this a clapping hands gathering? It's not. If you know me, you know me. And I don't do a half-cooked project. It took me 15 years to do this thing. Every project that I do, it comes alive. Trust me, no matter how much bureaucracy is there and hierarchy, we're going to get where we need to get as a people. And then, one thing that made me to get here, I'm just answering in advance questions that are coming. The reason we do these things is because all this time we do workshops. Everyone does workshops. But subsequent from the workshops, the kids, they go back to school. What do they learn? They're supposed to be advanced when they get to school. They said, we have learned this from the workshop. But I'm teaching them how to play Maskanda. When they get to school, they teach them Coltrane. So it's like, what are we trying to do? So that is why I invited the Department of Education to enlighten us. There are so many things I've learned today. I did not know most of things that they presented today.
The reason they are here is because for us to start, this matter is a national matter of importance. It's nationally, but we need to start somewhere. So this is not a talk shop. If you think it's a talk shop, you better be alive in 2030 so that we can see this thing coming to fruition. And teachers, now I'm getting into my business. Teachers, restaurants, all the restaurants, you can't just arrive at the Japanese restaurant and cook sushi. They train you how to cook sushi. You get trained. So now we need to come with strategies and formulas of how to train the teachers themselves how to play maskanda. If the teachers, they know how to play the music, then they're able, after Billy done the workshop, it's no longer a waste. The teachers, they know how to play maskanda, so we train the teachers. Who trains the teachers are people from the grassroots. The grassroots people, the Temba Mukwena, the people who are not scholars, they teach the teachers. The teachers, they do what? They take the baton, they pass it to the students. Then we are going somewhere. But now, no matter we can preach in workshops and master classes, if we don't teach the teachers, they are trained in a Western, a formula. They will teach what they know. That's what they know. They don't know anything. And one of the teachers commented. He said that I was harsh to the teachers. I said, no, you only know how to play ragtime and blues and what, So, this is not a talk shop, guys. It's the beginning of revolution. We're going to get somewhere.
And to your point about having a champion, I suppose if the teachers are exposed to the grassroots, they form a relationship, they form an understanding of where it comes from, becoming then the champions once they get into the education system. We have a question over here. We know who you are, but please tell us who you are and give us your question. Or comment.
Hello, I'm Gloria Bosman, a musician and a musicology student. So this is very interesting for me, and thank you so much, Billy. To cut to the chase, when we got to tertiary level, we were introduced to Eric Taylor, who wrote most of and then there was Josephine also. They wrote the music theory books that we were introduced to. For me, looking at what Eric Taylor did, it echoed a revolution of someone who spearheaded what was looked at as classical music training, because I was in the opera department at that time. Then I got to UCT. Then they added the 7ths and the 9ths and the 13ths. So you're always sitting with that. The way music theory was taught by Eric Taylor, and then the way music theory is being taught now under the jazz influences of John Coltrane that we had to sit with. The reason why there will always be a John Coltrane being taught is because John Coltrane is documented. He's been written down and he's been tested. And no one is bothering to do a lot of theory on Hugh Masekela so we can go and learn how he was practicing. There isn't a book that you can find anywhere that will teach you Hugh Masekela's style of playing. But there is a John Coltrane education on that. So, this is where I'm going. I have your book and got to toy around with the material, getting acquainted with what you are about. For me, it's set on a very tertiary level. I can't pass it to my 10-year-old who's learning music type of thing because of the language in it. And when you're looking at music is a language on its own. So all the nuances that will be used on it, how is it that are we going to speak of Maskandi and speak of Maskandi like we're speaking to a Zulu man in KwaZulu-Natal? Because I don't think they will be all able to engage with the material. someone who's learning Maskandi in KwaZulu-Natal, they have nothing to gain from it. That is something that we need to go back and look at, is finding a South African musical language that can be properly used and implemented, and start an Eric Taylor revolution where you're teaching music and also be able to give us everything without taking us out of our own personal understanding of who we are. As I'm Xhosa, so I need to understand as a Xhosa woman, with the Xhosa rhythm, I need it explained like that to me. Thank you.
Yeah. I love the question because the answer is there. The book says Introduction to South African Guitar Styles, Volume 1. Introduction means that it's just, hey, I'm like, guys, this is Maskanda, this is Volume 2. I'm still going to get into, there will be Volume 3, there will be Volume 4. So the book itself, it says Introduction to South African Guitar Styles. So by the title, I think it sums it up why I wrote on this level. And the book, inside the introduction, in the preface, I do mention that it is not for the beginners, it is for the intermediate and advanced, and those who want to learn about it. There are tutorial videos as well, so that there's no confusion into the language. I have Mbuzeni Mkize, who is a guest, who unpacks the Maskanda in Zulu. He speaks in Zulu. I have also captured, what do you call those words? Subtitles. So the book, it has that a depth of engaging someone from the grassroots. I think I've answered the question.
Sure. I also seem to recall Tata's book, Long Walk to Freedom, and that kept being adapted. A children's version happened, different languages happened. So I think that's also something that will happen in time.
We will, yeah.
That it can be created for different audiences.
Yes, absolutely. That's the plan. It's just we had to start somewhere.
Yes, yes. Yes, nako ya rona re shapile. Ladies and gentlemen, re shapile ke nako. So, ha re shapiwa ke nako, and there are 4 hands in the air. Ke etse jwang hle? Guy. But everyone's going to say, my hand was up for the longest time. But sir, you've got 4 votes of hand up for the longest time. So I'm going to come to you. Actually, I don't have to do that. And hand you the microphone. And then I think I'll come. There's the one last one here in front. And then we'll unfortunately have to wrap it up.
Thank you, ma'am. My name is Vusomzika Matrubel. I'd rather not say where I come from. Billy, I will start by saying, well done, my brother. What you're doing is indeed a revolution. The most powerful tool in the hand of the oppressed, or in the hand of the oppressor, is the mind of the oppressed. I listen to radio, South African radio, a number of times. I'm not a musician, but I love music. And one thing that I hear repeatedly when they interview musicians or people in the arts, when the question is, what or where would you like to be ultimately? And the answer is Hollywood. The answer is London. What happened to Africa, guys? What happened, Barbie, to King Kong? What happened to how long? What happened to things like Isikalo? Why are we fed with this narrative of Africa is useless? Why are we supposed to see repeatedly Cinderella at the Joburg Theatre? Every year there is Cinderella. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Cinderella, but what's wrong with Isikalo? Why can't we see our own stories? Why can't we tell our own stories? Thank you.
I can say is, Yeah.
Thank you, Pabi. Good evening, everybody. I think it is quite apt that if I'm really the closing person, it is a non-musician, just like Uput Vusi, because all along it's the people who are in the sector and the industry who had been speaking all along. And I stand here with the name of Ngobani Mzizi. When Sis Helga asked me, what company am I from? I'll show you my phone. It's still on RSVP, it's still on a draft. I didn't know what to say because I'm not in the sector or in the space, but I'm more music appreciator. I'll stick to today's theme, Billy, as well as the panelist. From the beginning of tonight, when the lady from the city of Johannesburg started speaking, I was quite shocked that there's an appreciation in what she said, where she said that, in delivering the speech of her superior, where he acknowledged that there is a shortage of the work of arts in the schools, and yet there are a department that is put together for arts and culture and sports, which then was echoed furthermore by the panelists here, who, to my dismay, are in the education sector, but also echo the same thing, which then says to me, I mean, they're provincial, and Braino said, in the national levels where he sits, in the Northern Cape, for example, a province, I think it's probably the biggest province in the country, with just 2 music schools. It goes to show how deep the problem that brings us here today is. So my question to the panel here, and this is not directed to Monama, because he has set the platform for today, because he has realized that there's a problem, is to say, you as the people who are in charge, I suppose Mr. Fenter and the 2 other guys from the curriculum department, I'm sorry to say guys, but I'm just trying to wrap up quickly. What exactly is going to emanate from this? Yes, this is the first of many, and you outlined the steps to go forward, as Ken Ford would say. But what can we take forward from here so that we cut the 9 years to 5 years? Because who knows, we've got these lifestyle diseases. Maybe I won't live for another 9 years, but I would love to see the fruits of what Billy has started today being realized in 4 years. Thank you.
Fantastic. So I'll use that as an opportunity for closing remarks and closing comments. What are we going to take from this? What are we going to see from this? How is change going to begin that we can say, we were there at Wits that Tuesday night, and now we can see things in action? Who'd like to start first? Ndate Innocent?
Yeah, sure. I think there's something that has bothered me for many years. And I think Gloria touched on it. So I'm just going to try and navigate my talk to it. One is that, you see, most of the time, we talk about what we do as a community. And if you can go to the community and check what is done, you find that there's nothing. But when we stand and we talk about the community. You see, and I will tell you that there are certain programs that are in the community. But the survival of those programs also depends on, like, City of Joburg, for those programs to actually give the education department the learners, really, that would continue to learn music. For instance, let's make a simple example. Because this kind of narrative, it's mentioned, she spoke about Eric Taylor, who has written the AP Music Guide. Now, why don't we say, let me use Africans for now, for now.
I'm going to have to push you for time.
Yes, the young ones that are bilingual in our communities, the ones that speak Zulu and Sotho, and these children, they are good in those languages. Yet we still see the need to send them to schools, for them to still learn the same language that they actually good at from home. And yet when it comes to the arts, we don't think that the school is important. And I just want us to really not miss that balance. It's the same. And for us to make sure that we are progressive, like she was saying, why don't we then have an Eric Taylor version of our own that we can talk to? Dr. Smith said, well done, Billy. What you have done, you have given us something that we can give to teachers. How many of us can say that? And that's what we need to do. To say, if we want to address this, to say, okay, Billy, you've got subtitles, you've got this. Oh, okay, maybe we have missed certain things there. But at least we know where to pitch your book. Jonathan Cho has done a wonderful work as well in business. How best can we help in that regard from where we come from? Even before we involve our schools. I can assure you, in the suburbs, that at times we speak willy-nilly and speak as if, no, people, the oppressed and the whatnot. Weekends, there are programs that are happening every weekend. Find children there playing, practicing. In their numbers, you find the very teachers, the parents in the communities, they are involved. It's time that we organize ourselves the same way, so that it's not just about me. Every Saturday for the past 24 years, I teach. Every Saturday, except of obviously 2020, 2021. But since 1998, I've been teaching learners. Some of the people you see who are recording artists now, who are playing there, they come from me. But I don't, because I don't talk too much about it. What I'm saying is, all of us outside the Department of Education, I practice in my community. I make sure that what I want to see from these learners, the love of music, I still teach them. Millicent does the same. And I hope all of us, we didn't say now we are in offices and I don't go to Pimville and teach. No, I still go there and I teach. And we are going to spread it so that the music education that we talk about is not only from the fact that you are in the Department of Education, so that Billy's book can still find expression in the township where those learners are. Your book, Jonathan, should find expression the same way, so that the opportunities that are out there can really go to everybody. So that it's not a question of Omunyukombo Munyesuen, like I said earlier on. And I still appeal for patience. And I think Mzizi, the 9 years, I think it will come down with these engagements. He knows how we have revolutionized the fact that this should happen.
Yeah.
So I've given him a little idea of how things can move. So I think we are going forward.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Pimville Zone Man, because we're coming to see where you teach on Saturdays. We're coming.
Zone 4.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Avril, over to you. Closing comments and what we can take out
Sure.
of this.
So, I mean, I think that there's a lot. And I think I'm going to start off by what we know. So I teach a program called Cultural Policy and Management. I teach people who become cultural managers in the city. One of my students works in the city of Joburg. So another student works in Arts Culture Trust. Another in Business and Arts South Africa. Another in a community arts center. Now these people are being trained to think about what are the big issues in our country around arts and culture and all the things we were talking about earlier. How do you develop programs? How do you lobby government? How do you make these MOUs that exist actually come into fruition? Because if it's not going to be that generation who does it, who's going to do it? So I completely believe in teaching the next generation to be empowered, to have a voice, to stand up and say, this is my country, I want to do the best that I can here. And that's, I think, all of us who at this age of our lives, we have to be doing that, teaching, doing whatever we can. But it's all very well to have all these ad hoc programs. We still need a dedicated set of programs. We need teaching in schools to be more universal. not only those who want to do music for matric. We also need, and I'm not just talking about music, I would talk all the arts. We also need arts and culture, particularly why they're not here. Why is our School of Music not here? You know, from our School of Arts. Why is the School of Music not here? They could be teaching people how to write annotations about learning jazz, learning African indigenous knowledge. That can be part of the programming. Why is the Department of Education not here from the university? These are the people that need to be in the room. So when we do another round, which I think Billy should do, there has to be these people in the room, because that's who's going to move the agenda forward. It cannot be one person only. Right? You've started something, but a revolution needs a leader, but a revolution needs followers. So now we've got to focus on who are going to be the big followers for you in this journey of making music and music education more vibrant, more robust, more supported, and more universal. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ava. Well said. Hang on, you collate your thoughts, and then I'm going to give you an opportunity to wrap up the entire thing. All right, Billy. Millicent, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Bobby. You know, when Billy came to us, and I was seeing Billy for the first time, I didn't know about him, and he was telling me that I've been doing workshops in your schools, teaching your learners how to play maskanda and bakanga and all these styles that he has in his book. And me and Innocent were like, when? When? You were in our schools, when? I learned it. And he was like, he's worried that he's doing all these workshops, but he doesn't see the output. And I was like, it's because we don't know, you know. Maybe it's because we didn't know that you're doing this, so that we can support you to say, okay, Billy was here doing this workshop, and then let's continue with this now. This is how we can, maybe let's start writing the music, let's start doing, so that we see it at the end of the year. We see them presenting, because we've got also at the end of the year in FET, the learners present a full exam in their instruments. So, and voice as well. So we need more and more partners. And if you go to our schools to do a workshop, because maybe you know a teacher, and then you spoke to the teacher, spoke to their principal, and you were invited, also let us know that you're doing this, so that we can support you, so that we can even make it bigger, so that you don't go to one school. You know, we invite more schools maybe to come. We've seen Ubabu, Themba Mkhize also do that. We invite more schools to say, please, there is this person doing this workshop. Can you please attend this workshop? Because maybe it might be difficult for you to invite all the schools, but only that one school that you go to. And I also want to agree with Innocent and also Gloria on the writing, documentation of our music. We can't let our music just stay somewhere no go, because we don't have those grannies anymore. So we need to write it down, so that in future we still have this music for thousands and thousands of years to come. Things are changing, things are evolving, so we also need to evolve. Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you so much. And Marius, let's hear from you.
Second last words, okay. Okay, just I'm going to take a total different angle and just say what is currently happening in the department. Our focus has shifted a lot, and under the leadership of the DDG for curriculum, the focus has shifted to skills development. Curriculum, yes, it's majorly important, but I think what they realized is the moment a learner leaves school or exits the school system, they have done curriculum only and they have no skills. So from grade 1 up to grade 12, there's certain skills that are taught to the learners, and we kept on saying, from my side, I had to find a space for the magnet schools to get a voice somewhere. And because we were teaching practical lessons, practical classes, and it's a one-on-one class, and the learners do it for appreciation. We love music, and we go. There's nothing for it. So I was able, after quite a long discussions, we were able to put music as part of the multi-certification program for the department. So what we've done is we used the grade 4 to grade 9 framework that we have, on a syllabus that we have, and we said, you know what, just teach these learners basic skills and some basic information, and when they finish with that, they are able to continue with Millicent's class because they've got a skill and they get a certificate. So we are busy in looking in to accredit the certificates. So we need the support from the tertiary institutions. So we can accredit that and say, you know what, this is what the learner have done. So the skills is the number one. The second thing, you heard that our previous MEC has been launching schools like crazy the past year, in total 21 of them. They call the schools of specialization. Now, Gauteng is also the forerunner again. We have 3 schools gazetted and 1 coming up for schools of specialization for performing and creative arts. So these schools are now focusing purely on performing and creative arts. That is their job in education. And the focus is on industry development. The learners, when they leave the school, they must be able to walk into the industry. And funding is given to those schools, and obviously the schools is quite known. It's National School of the Arts, Pro Arte in Pretoria, Eastern School of the Arts, and the new one that's coming next year that will be launched is Gutlataru. Is also School of Specialization. So what happens here, the schools, our infrastructure is given to them, they are assisted, instruments, LTSM, and learners from across the community into these schools. They are enrolling into these schools. So we are trying to change the narrative from just curriculum, that these learners can already from grade 8 focus on what they want to do when they leave school. So if I want to be a dancer, I start in grade 8 dancing. I don't start in grade 10 only, as the problem currently is. In these 4 schools, this is what's happening. So this is a program that's running. Cost-wise, a lot of money going into it, but we can see the fruits from it eventually. So yeah, from our side, we're trying to put out there and change the way that we see the performing arts, not only in the classroom and curriculum, but also be able to put a child into the community, even without tertiary education, that he's able to help himself and even be able to create a job and get some income from there. I'm done. Thank you.
Well, thank you all very much. Avril, thank you, Innocent, thank you, Millicent, and thank you, Marius, as well. And thank you to everybody who has been here adding your comments, your hearts, your souls, your time. And to conclude, I'm going to hand it back over to Billy, who really has brought us into this room. Yes, because of the work that he's published, but I think to use that word again, to be a champion of this in schools and in education in the arts. So Billy,
yes,
it's over to you.
I did extend an invitation to to all the people, all the institutions, the professors, the teachers, you name them. And for the past years, every time I invite them, they never show up. It doesn't mean, on the list, as Helga will tell you, on the list, we have 70 people invitees, different institutions, others they RSVP'd, but they're not here. You know why? Because when there's fire burning, and then I'm holding a bucket to go and
extinguish the fire.
Extinguish the fire. They're not looking at the water, they're looking at the bucket. What kind of bucket Bill is carrying? I don't think you understand me, let me tell you. So they don't care about the water, they care about the color of the bucket. So now, someone is sitting there with Tau Piluso Stelan. Because you know what? It's not, yeah. Because I'm not ashamed to say, I don't have a degree in music, I don't have a PhD, I don't have masters. But my thinking is ahead, unfortunately, to say that. Unfortunately, maybe. So they can accept that to to come to this gathering, you know. So we do extend the invitation, they just don't want to come. Maybe someone must carry the bucket of water, and then you carry the bucket of water, and then me, I sit behind, I said, go. And then maybe that would be a great strategy. They never come. And in closing, what I want to say is that we can do as many workshops as we want to. I told someone that I'm not interested in doing workshops if we don't fix the situation in school, because we do workshops and then what? And then the kids, they go back to school, things are like, you know, shaky. So we will come up with a plan. I'm going to make a follow-up after this thing. It's not a talk shop. I'm going to engage them. They are now my friends. We are now partners. We're going to engage how to go forward to implement supporting material in school. That's where we're going to be, what we're going to be doing, because I strongly believe that for the menu of the restaurant to change, they need to train the chef. And for the music to be advanced, African music to be advanced in school, they need to train the teachers. Uguti, how we want to train them, that's another conversation for another day. But that's the strategy for now.
Magnificent. Thank you, Billy. And once again, thank you to our panelists, and thank you as well. I still see a hand up. I suppose, you know, there will be time to network amongst yourselves, and I invite you to do that as we make our way out, everybody. And so, yes, that will be planned, and we'll send invites out once again, and please join us and spread the word far and wide. Have a very safe trip home, everybody. Thank you.